hello to the visitors of Arutz Sheva. My name is Leah Aharoni. I'm the founder of Women for the Wall, and I'd like to weigh in on the whole issue of the New Israel Fund and how it is using its money and its impact to become a Trojan horse inside the religious community in Israel. So I'll tell you a story. 25 years ago, I was a young 20-something-year-old woman, and I got an opportunity to join a program to learn more about democracy and leadership. So we got together, about 30 young women, all of us from the religious community, and we got a 500 shekel monthly scholarship that we got in cash in an envelope. And every week we would have a meeting with another thought leader. But what happened was that the thought leaders all had the same thoughts. They were all left-wing and pretty radical. So it was right after Oslo. So we had a radical left-wing Israeli writer who would talk about how the settlements are evil. And then we had somebody from the Paris Peace Center where he would tell us how the settlements are the obstacle to peace. And then there would be somebody who would talk about feminism and how the religious Jewish women cannot live their values, and so on and so on. And every week we would get more and more of this brainwashing. After a few months, a few weeks actually, we figured out what was going on. And we asked where the money was coming from. Where was that money in cash coming from? And we didn't get an answer. Now, the founders of the program were two religious observant women. Both of them had their wigs on their heads. And they were the ones who were brainwashing us week in and week out. What happened was that after 2 years, it came out that the program was sponsored by none other than the European Union. And the idea of the program was to brainwash a small but high-quality group of men and women in the religious community and have them then spread these ideas inside the community. Now, this method is the method that the New Israel Fund and the European Union are using in the religious and in the Haredi community ever since. What's the idea? They find young, idealistic people who have important issues that they would like to create or advance in the community. They give them training, they give them funding, and then they make them part of their ecosystem. And this group of young, religious and idealistic leaders are now becoming a Trojan horse who are basically advancing left, liberal, sometimes anti-religious values inside the religious community. These are the people who are fighting the religious establishment. And this is the method the New Israel Fund is using to bring down the religious community, to bring down the Jewish identity of Israel, and to ultimately turn Israel into a nation of all its citizens. A couple of years ago, I was out to create a women's program in Jerusalem, a women's hub, and I was looking for funding, and funding was hard to find until I met one organization, and they had all the money in the world. They offered me 6- and 7-figure amounts for this project. However, when I sat down to talk to them, understanding in depth what we were going to do, the name of the European Union came up. And that's when I did my research and due diligence. I figured out that this organization was really funded by the New Israel Fund. And that's when I said, thank you, but no thank you, and we parted ways. But that's a very hard call to make. It's a very hard decision to make when you really have given the money to advance an important agenda that you need to advance in the community. And many people don't have the knowledge or the ability to say no. And I think it's really important that we create an alternative. The religious community and the right-wing faction in the Jewish world needs to create an alternative. And the alternative includes funding and training. Just like you have high-tech accelerators for high-tech startups, we need to have accelerators, just like the New Israel Fund does, that will enable right-wing and religious social startups and organizations to get the training they need, to have the ecosystem they need, the support they need to advance their causes without going out and getting the money from the New Israel Fund.